single day, ducking the sunlight, doing what we got to do to get the message out there. We beam it through the Eggyverse. And what's the Eggyverse? It goes straight up to the ionosphere. Honestly. Goes straight up to the ionosphere. Why do they call it the ionosphere? All the little ions. Right? So we already established that the right carry weapons and the left use what? They use tech. That's why they're not stressing anything. That's what they were using on me. It's a neurological stun gun. That's what it does. And it could, your device, you're too smart for its own good, phone. Orthogonality, they knew it all the way back in Kubrick's time. And that's why they slowly began to introduce it into the culture. Check out orthogonality. I used to link it in the description, but yeah, why don't you do something yourself? Jeez, what do I got to do everything? It's a lovely day out here in Los Angeles, finally. I brought the weather with me from Michigan or wherever the hell it is I was coming from. I was pretty dopey and loopy. They tortured me for a lot of years, and that's what I'm trying to say. As far as the right is concerned, they'll come out and tell you, yeah, I'm gonna own my gun, I'm gonna drive my, dirty pickup truck, and I'm gonna, do what the hell I want. Well, that's why the left isn't worried about it, because they're like, really? Because we're technologically advanced. And see, this is what I was talking about in my property called We Are Martian. Okay? That's why they're just not worried about it. They're like, okay, right? Like I said, these Fed rats, they love ratting on themselves. They love it. They'll come right up. It's all on the ground harassment, right? Now, I'm from the BC era before computers. So you have this on the ground harassment. And now they've coupled it with tech, and that's why the left really isn't worried about anything. They're just sitting back being little smarty pantses. And that's why you come to my show. I give you a different perspective than anybody else is going to give you, right? And it's pretty amazing some of the things that I was able to do and accomplish as just a kid from 6 Mile and Gratiot in Detroit, right? So, whatever. We're hanging out in the park today, and I want to talk a little bit about this accelerationism, and this is what we're accelerating into. And this is why I came straight to the belly of the beast. I came straight here to LA, and it's because I'm in the doghouse. That's because I always was a creative person, and what I was trying to write was a second memoir. I always tell you my story, but what I'm writing instead is what's known as Linoleum Blown Apart. And what I have is about a dozen short story narratives, over a dozen. I got ideas for a lot of things, and that's why I came out here. And again, I don't expect what these idiots actually believe, and that's what they do with part of cancel culture, and that's why morons will get involved in it, because they actually think that there's money to be made. Is there? Sure. But let me clue you in on something. Say you're a guy like me. Say they took one of my videos down or whatever, right? Okay? So now I'm like, you know what? Maybe they're right. Maybe I don't care so much about this stupid video that I made. Let me switch it up a little bit. I'm gonna get a new email. I'm gonna get a new channel, right? Right here on YouTube. I'm YouTube exclusive, and that's why we siphoned the Eggyverse all the way up to the ionosphere. Right? And I'm gonna start over. I'm gonna do something self-help. I'm gonna do a self-help channel. And that's what I'm gonna do. Well, guess what? You are already canceled on your old channel. You can't fool the algorithm. They know who you are. They know who you are. They know your background, and they also know what's gonna get your goat. That's right. You can bet your bippy on that. That's right. They know everything, and that's why they use these on-the-ground ops to try to whatever it is. I think most of it is back in my neighborhood, like I said, they wanted me to take a gun charge when I was like, I think I was about 15. I don't know. I was younger than that. And again, I watch a lot of mob stuff, and the mob were doing things that the cops would never do, and the cops stayed away from them. And they're like, man, you take care of your own. You eat your own, you take care of your own, right? And so what they're trying to do is to try to get somebody to commit a crime. And I said before, it's pretty tough when I know that they have all this investment in me. Now take a look, I talk about my because I know how to write a hook, because I worked really hard at it. And anytime, that's why I try to tell you, racism is fake, because anytime they have, you're nothing but a this, you're nothing but a that, you're nothing but a this, right? You're putting somebody down, you're using an ad hominem attack. Just emphasize the nothing. They think that you're nothing. They're reducing you to nothing, right? And so that's when you know the conversation's over, right? Because you know you are something. You don't have to listen to these idiots. And they'll use anything. It doesn't matter. Like I said, they'll pit one side against the other. If black, they'll pit white. You know, if you're Asian, they'll pit a Mesoamerican. You know, like anything. It doesn't matter what it is. If you're a female, they'll pit a male, or whatever, the opposite, right? If you're tall, they're going to pit somebody short against you. Okay, so this is the natural way of this world. And once you understand that, you don't have to fall into it, right? But there's something else going on here. It's a lot more nefarious. When they use more than one person, they use these gang tactics, right? So we know this goes back to the mob. I talk about a lot of mob stuff. I talk a lot about John Lennon. And they talked about something recently came up. I always talk about what comes up on YouTube. And what came up recently was, you know, these mob guys involved in payola. What are they involved in? The radio industry, AOR, rock and roll, and heroin. They call it one guy. He obviously has connections to the Chicago mob, right? It's like, right? And those guys were working with CIA. And so here you have it. There it is right there. There's your connection. You got the stadium rock that's coming up, and you got dope, okay? And so this is the connections that I was making for you, and that's why you come to my show. There are people like John Lennon, right? If you could get this information, say, out of Tony King, I can't do all this stuff. You see me, I do my show homeless from a park in Los Angeles nearly every single day. I talk about a lot of ideas because that's what I am. I'm an idea person. I have a lot of narratives for a lot of short stories, but right now I'm just kind of in a little bit of a purgatory, and that's okay. I keep going. I'll come out the other side of this. Now, what else you can investigate? Hollywood, Babylon, right? What else you can investigate is a guy named Keith Jackson of the Glass Heroes. Now, take a look at my songs, okay? Just like John Lennon. Take a look at my songs, and take a look at whatever song Keith Jackson of the Glass Heroes sold to Fox Sports. And this is what people in Michigan were bragging about, throwing it in my face. This is why they were shit-talking me, and this is why they were calling me Zoolander. Because I'm so stupid, I wouldn't know it. Like I said, I'm 57 years old. I let them run their fucking mouth. Now I'm running mine, I swear. Oh my God. Speaking of Big Mouth, I had a Mickey's Big Mouth the other day. Tasted great. Well, I don't want to say it tasted great, but I've had better beers. But I've been drinking Mickey's. That was the first beer that I stole from a party store that I worked at. I came up with it myself, how to steal it and how to do it, you know. I actually, so the bottles didn't rattle. They were Mickey Big Mouth. They were little bottles of beer. And they had the wide mouth, okay? And so what I did is I stuffed paper in there so the bottles didn't clink together. And I put them in a shopping cart and I rolled them right past, what's his name? Kwame? Kwame was he was the Arab that ran the place, but they were Chaldeans, okay? They weren't Muslims, okay? So a lot of times I'll talk about Christianity because I was raised a Christian. I wasn't raised in a mosque or a temple. So I don't really try to get into that stuff too much. I try to keep things right at the Holy King James if I'm talking about the exegesis, which is when you extrapolate things from the Bible, right? You have the exoteric, the story, and then you have the esoteric, which is the allegory, okay? And that's why these morons, they come in and they take a mick, like, you know, it's some of the laziest stuff that I've ever seen in my life is to like, hey, I'm gonna make fun of Bible passages. It's like come on, dude. And that's like what Louis C.K. is reduced to now. Right? How the mighty have fallen. That's right. Stuff from his show came up in my scroll, and you know, like he's in the writer's room, and you know, again, I'm working on Linoleum Blown Apart, but I'm trying to keep it not so much about the quote-unquote Hollywood system like we know it, right? You want to do something a little bit different. You want to do a different take. Like I said, with Californication, was rather lazy. Like, oh yeah, let's just shoot right on the lot that we're shooting on, Right? I get it. But a lot of things are going to be green screen, especially these 7 films. I'm laying out how this series is going to go. I talk to people on the ground. That's what they do. They hand out these little survey cards. Well, survey says that nobody wants to watch your stupid television show. Well, survey says bullshit. I call bullshit on that. Absolutely. They absolutely want to see this show. And you can tell, like I said, by the bands that are going on tour, by the bands that are putting out albums right now. Okay? And you have to have this little slice of life. Now, you have to have it. You have to have these kids in the Linoleum Blown Apart universe into something. Now, we could make it about an artist. They're really into the cubist paintings of this artist. Sure, you could do that. Then you can get into the life of the artist. And how he's a drunk, and how he's a woman beater. A lot of them were. Don't forget, John Lennon, Jimi Hendrix. Right? It was very common thing. That's why I always like The Sopranos. I always liked, because it's like everybody laughs when Tony Soprano's getting pissed off. And again, part of the reason why I decided to make the show is because of David Chase and people like him who had a chance to like do whatever project they wanted. And he's like, yeah, I want to make something about rock and roll. Well, we all do. And on my playlist, there is a scene where they're playing in the basement for the first time. They can't really find their rhythm. They're just kind of like fresh and green. I went through all that. And I didn't come out the other end and survive all this stuff and write a memoir just to have Keith the Gerbil Jackson steal my hooks and sell them and throw it in my face. Yeah, we're going to see about you, Jack. We're going to see about you, son. Make no mistake about it. Like I said, I talk about litigious things because that's the society we live in. Who's got the best lawyers wins, right? It's like, hey, we crunched the numbers on that Frogger TV show. Looks like it's not going to do so well. Hey, you still got that knife? You still got that knife, don't you? We talk about a lot of things on this show. I talk about mostly rock and roll, stuff that I've looked up. And by the way, I'm reading a book. It's a Ross McDonald book. It's called The Galton Case. It's from 1956. It's on Black Lizard. I'm reading it. It's kind of it's becoming a mess. I'm in the 3rd and last part of the book. It's just really kind of falling apart at this point. It's just getting really convoluted. That's why if you take a look at my writing, I don't care if you do or not, because most of what I'm talking about is going to come out either after I die, or it's really not going to happen in my lifetime. And if it does, like with COVID, I got $20,000. That money is gone in months. It doesn't mean anything. You can sit here and brag about this and brag about that. That's why I'm really disappointed in a very specific person, Andre. Oh, not that Andre, not the stabby one. The other Andre. I talked to him for 30 years, and I would talk to him about stuff like this. And I'm like, these people, these on-the-ground morons, They actually believe if somebody put an album out that they have millions of dollars. And so this is what they do. And this is how these morons work, right? So you have a little bit, you know, say you're in something, you put an album out or whatever. That's why these guys were throwing it in my face that Keith the Gerbil was stealing my hooks. First of all, he doesn't have any talent. Second of all, he's generic as all get out. But again, you have this on the ground level that actually believe it, and next thing you know, they're like, oh yeah, he's got money, it's in his house. And next thing you know, someone's breaking in the house to get the money, and the money's not there. Because that's not how the business works. You understand? Like Jim Carrey might do a $20 million movie, or they might give Johnny Depp a $20 million evaluation for a perfume. But are you really that dumb? You're going to break in their house? You think they got $20 million sitting in a safe? Okay, so that's how these on-the-ground ops work. You could tell them anything, and they'll believe it because they don't use their discernment. And your discernment can only come with time. Right? Like I said, it doesn't matter what your IQ level is. You can always be duped. You can always be tricked. Anyone can. It doesn't mean you're stupid or smart. Right, Mike? Smart. Right? I talk about mob stuff. I talk about a lot of things on this show. Why? Because it's really how I came up, right? My mom and dad were part of the Warren Tattoo crew. That's where they would go. They would go to Andiamo's and go have dinner and stuff like that, right? I talk about my real life, but really what I'm talking about is Linoleum Blown Apart. This is a game changer, okay? And you can't have the kids in the scene. Now, you're going to shoot all 7 of Walter's films simultaneously. Shoot them all, right? Concurrently. They're going to be easy films to make. Take a look at Wes Anderson. He is doing a Criterion Closet, but he's doing it in France, okay? And there's very few DVD stores anymore. I love DVDs. Just like a person who loves vinyl, whatever, you know. That stuff is always going to be here. It's cool. But his film knowledge is extensive, and it's incredible. I mean, I can't even come close to it, right? But you get a guy like him, and they can just come right in, and I give them the bones, like the riff that was stolen from my band and my smarts, right? Sorry, you don't have the connections of people in Farmington Hills, Michigan. You just don't have it, right? And don't forget, I'm the one who came up with, here's Michigan Hand, and here's the Fist in downtown Detroit. Yeah. paper supersedes rock. Anyway, shut up. I got to do something visual on my show. The last time I did stand-up was at 45th and 9th Avenue, I think, between 8th and 9th. And I don't hold the mic. I use the mic stand because I'm an old punk rocker. I'm used to using the mic stand. My hands, I would be playing my guitar. You know, I'm not gonna like, yeah, right. So this is what I do, and this is how I talk, and this is what I would do. And also, you know, I got chastised from Bill Macy. They call him William H. Macy now. Oh boy. Anyway, so right. So we're developing this show called Linoleum Blown Apart. It's a series, and again, you have to have the kids that are into something. They're not going to be into other bands because, yeah, okay, you can have scenes like that. You'll have, you know, D-Beat records, the posters on the wall, right? And again, like, whose poster are you going to use? What band? Who cares? You can work that out. And again, what you want to do is you want to have a great set decorator team, right? You want to have great, not so much costume design, but the set decoration, right? And again, it's called mise-en-scene. We're putting this in the scene. We're putting Walter's book in every fucking scene. Oops, sorry. Damn it. Can't cuss around the dogs. People, who cares? Now take a look in history, right? Take a look at early man, early human, because the word man doesn't mean male. It means hands. Like, oh. Right? And when they stood around and they looked around, they could see that, wait a minute, we're more than animals, right? And look at what's happening today. Look at the sophistry inside the universities. They're telling you you're nothing but an animal. Do you see this reinforcement? You see how it's different? You see how the traditionalist and early man are saying like, no, look at us. We are human. Oh, sorry, honey. Right? Right? We are above the animals. Right? Oh, I put some Devo up on, you got to take a look at Devo from 1981. Guys, I was around back then. I was a goofy kid. I didn't know what the hell was going on. Yeah, still don't. Right? So there's these new thinkers, lecturers, philosophers, these people, Mark Land. There's Mark Land and Mark Fisher. Mark Land is about accelerationism. These guys write in total word salad. They're hyper intellectuals. And sometimes I like breaking things down, right? And capturing that riff. Capturing that little bit of a riff, and you kind of can build on that. Like when I don't talk about the eternal recurrence anymore. I developed that on our show. What we talk about is the recurrence. And the recurrence is something that I talked about in 2018. Okay? I talked about the recurrence in 2018. I did a series of videos back then. And they tortured me and they cooked me, man. I was cooked. And this is the tech that they're using, and that's why they're so schmarmy. Oh, boy. And that's why we walk the middle path, right? That dog's a right stunner. What are you gonna do? I swear. It's just a Lech character like Harpo Marx. Right? Like I said, I'm a trained actor. I'm not worried about it. So, what was I talking about? So Mark Fisher, who ended up what? Self-harming, right? He ended up self-harming. Why? Because he could see, you reach a certain level where you could see the direction that society is going. And he saw it. And he likened it to a rat colony, a mouse, like, you know, like these little lab rats, little white mouse colony, right? Now look at us. You're going to have self-driving cars, and you got people immersed orthogonally. Look it up yourself. This goes all the way back to Stanley Kubrick. It goes back to The Who. It goes back to the Presence album. And it also goes back to the Star Wars, where he's put into that stele, right? The Empire Strikes Back. It's such a great scene. It has nothing to do with those other, yeah, come on. These people actually had personality, right? And before he goes down, she goes, I love you. And he goes, I know. Great scene. He goes down. He comes back up. He's in a monolith. It's orthogonality. You can look it up right on Wikipedia. That's right. Don't get Cinder Fella affected. And then he comes up as what? The stele. Okay, so this is also your grave marker, right? This is a monument to you. Okay, orthogonality is only about the right angle. That's what they're talking about. These angles and how you can actually draw out, map out what things in microbiology, things in Wi-Fi. And that's what they were really truly talking about, was Wi-Fi, going wireless, and how they were going to do it. And how they would have to increase the spinning of the ions and the electrons. Those are basically interchangeable. You're talking about the same idea. The ion and the electron, they're exactly the same. They just use them differently, right? Take my word for it, I swear. So, you have the, again, that's what I'm saying with Mark Fisher. You have these self-driving cars, and you have people orthogonally into their scrolly scroll. So here we are. We're just all weaving around each other, in order to get where we work, we sit there, we're essential workers, we essentially have to be there. We do our time, and that's it. And then we go home and do what? We get up and do the same things every day. No raghead, but we don't need to go your way. And we tolerate your lies like they're half true. No consequence is gonna dictate what I do. Right. So that's one of the songs I wrote. It's got a lot of hubris, it's got a great hook. I was talking about ragheads, as in ragamuffins, as in I was really into this reggae culture. I went to go see Muda Baruka. I went to go see Peter Tosh's son. I want to say his name is Daniel Tosh. No, wait, that's the other Tosh.0. Peter Tosh's son I went to go see. I got a video up of Mick Jagger and Peter Tosh. Again, around that same time, if you take a look at the Rolling Stones video, Waiting on a Friend, that's where I used to go get dope. And I would go get it from but I would get smoking dope. I would get weed. I didn't really care about all that other stuff, right? But again, I've already tied in John Lennon to bringing over opium. Opium can both be smoked and it can be broken down into heroin, and it's worth more money because it's compacted, and you can get a lot of cocaine. You can get a lot of coke for this opium that you could break down. And again, back then you have to understand they didn't have the TSA. And now look at our society. These guys work as gangs. Take a look at A Clockwork Orange. What happens? They become police officers. The worst of the lot. They were with Alex during that time. They were with him. That's what I'm saying about the guys in my band. You were with me. We did a lot of the same crimes together, eh? Eh? And when I gave up that life of crime and I became a creative person, well, here they come. Oh, my band's better than yours. What? The fuck out of here, man. Right? There's no support in the scene. There's no... But in Linoleum Blown Apart, there will be. And the person who brings it in is a female, of course, Roxy. She brings this support in because she could see it. Right? Kind of like my band. We're supposed to be on Chaos Records. What happened? Somebody sleep with somebody? Jesus, take it easy. That's what you do in your 20s. But again, we're going to be using this in this property. And these kids are not going to be into an artist. How can they? Like, I started getting into art and going down. We would go to galleries. Now, we can have some scenes of them, you know, where it takes place at an art gallery, where they go to a showing, where they go to a midnight movie, right? When they're talking about Walter. There's a book about him. Don't forget, Walter's last film was turned in 1969. It's called Bonaparte Bonami. And so, My Friend Napoleon. And Walter is the allegorical friend, right? That's what we're talking about, these levels here. We're talking about the genius of the Holy King James Bible being written on these levels. Where you can read it, it's like, yeah, okay, you pull an apple from a tree and you eat it. I get it, right? But there's an allegory behind that as well, all right? And what we never want to do is use the eisegesis, putting ourselves into the Bible, because that's the narrative that they created, the Manson mythos. And when we started this series, I was talking about the Manson industrial complex and how writ large it was and what an impact it had on our culture. Take a look at Guns N' Roses. They actually did a Charles Manson song, right? Take a look at Tarantino. He just did a Charles Manson movie. So they're bringing this back in to the zeitgeist. But we don't want to be part of that. What we want is to use this new narrative. Now, because people in the film industry again, they like showing this stuff and how they show it, whatever. They like I said, I was being very critical of Californication. Just of David Duchovny not being method enough. You know, just too polished. It looks too good. I mean, you know, I didn't mind checking out Judy Greer. She's a Livonia girl. She's a Michigan girl. Oh, they gave her, like, she's had her own series. She's had a lot of stuff. She goes back all the way to 2003. That's what I'm saying, man. I go all the way back. I go back to the 80s, Jack. That's 40 years. You understand? So, I'm ready to work. I don't know about you. But, so you have to have these kids in this series being into something. And what they're into is Walter and his films. It's really simple. Okay? And so whenever we see Walter, we can show LA, we can show this, he's going to be in rooms, and you use the set decorators to kind of show everything. Yeah, I just watched this stupid, these films with John Hamm. He's like, oh look, I discovered a hidden room. Like, oh my God. Do you guys see this trailer yet for the hidden room? Guys, we've seen all this stuff before. Ben Stiller just did that with his series, working in an office that's really boring and mundane, but yet there's some type of weird subplot. Guys, enough. Again, what are you going to have these punk rock kids into? A painter, other bands? You can't do that. You have to have them into cinema. But again, it's going to be at this level where you're going to dip into it and you dip out. And then you got to get back into what? Look at what I'm bringing. I'm bringing the grit, the dope, the goods, the stuff. So Roxy actually sees that, wow, there's a potential here. Who else sees that there's a potential here? Roxy is like 17 years old, like Linny, right? Dancing on a ceiling. Right? And who else sees it? Max, and he's a man in his 30s. He already has a couple of kids. He's like Christopher. He's like Michael Imperioli. You understand? He's born into this thing. And his dad happens to have this building. He happens to have this stuff. He has old equipment from back in the day. And he can put this together pretty quick. And then that's why they come together. And that's why you could have an unrequited love where he sees Roxy. Yeah, she's sexy as shit. But is he trying to bang her? No. He's married, he's got a kid. But then you have that little thing, oh, I saw Max and Roxy together. And then you got a Janice Rossi scene with right, like in Goodfellas, right? Get down here, you're a whore. You know, whatever. Right? So again, we're taking all this stuff that we've seen these mob films before. Okay? It's not about the quote-unquote mob. It's not about the quote-unquote 1980s. You take a look at Stranger Things. What did we develop here? Ooh, egregore, the Internet of Stranger Things. Because we have the Internet of Things. And this Internet of Things can be used as a weapon. Oh, you better be a good boy. Right? You better be a good boy, girl, or other. Huh? Hold on. Take it easy. I gotta take a break. My neck's killing me. I'm like, that's nice. I told you I was using the Gestalt method on the set of Abacus Fell, and they also use this tech, and it's pretty sad. Let me tell you something. So here's your future, kid. Okay? So you're gonna move somewhere. And you're like, oh, I like this place. Yeah, I got a job over here. You're gonna go get yourself a muffin. Right? You go get yourself a muffin before you go to work. You like going to the park. You like going to the park and eating your muffin. And sometimes the ducks comes up, you throw them a little something. A little bit of your muffin. You're not gonna eat it all. You're putting on a weight. Right? You don't want to eat it all. Right? Someone's gonna come along and they're gonna use this weapon. And they're gonna point it at you, and all of a sudden they're gonna change your mood. And this is not fair, and this is not cool. And I don't know why these pieces of trash are going around using this weapon willy-nilly. And this is what they do. Now, you're gonna have a negative experience of sitting on the bench, feeding the ducks, and eating your muffin. Banana nut. I'll take a banana nut. Second choice, blueberry. First choice, banana. Right? Now, all of a sudden, you're not gonna want to go back there anymore. And then one day you're gonna be like, man, I miss going to my bench. What happened? I started crying, eh? And you're gonna look over there and you're gonna see the schmuck who used that weapon on you. Oh, I saw him over there. I want to sit over there and feed the ducks. This is the level, the low-life level of people who are using this tech. And I'm telling you right now, it's gotta stop. It's gotta stop. It's out of control. It's out of hand. And I'm the only one talking about it. I came straight to the belly of the beast because I'm not worried about anything. I've already died twice in my life. I'm not worried about it. And I have a feeling, like Chester Himes' brother, I talk about the recurrence. Just like his brother, I was sent away from the hospital. I wonder why. And then later on, when they're using this tech and I go get a CAT scan, I'm sent away from the hospital. But there's nothing wrong with you. And then I go back to get the results because he never showed me, because there was a guy in black squeaky shoes and white socks standing there the size of a linebacker. That's how you know a Fed rat, when you see it. Like I was saying, there's people out there crazy enough to do crimes. It's bad enough as it is. Now you got people harassing somebody into committing a crime? Hey, let's harass this guy until he hauls off and slugs somebody. Hey, let's harass this guy until he hauls off, maybe stabs somebody because he's afraid for his life. Is this the world that you want to live in? This is the world that's out there. This is how these schmucks are justifying their paychecks. And let me tell you something, schmuck, if you're involved in this. You see the kiosk at the Mickey D's getting ready to take their job? Well, there's a kiosk right over here that's getting ready to take this sheriff's department's job too. or these other flatfoots over here. They're going to take your job next. Because when they have cameras everywhere and they got some little tech nerd in there crunching the numbers, they're not going to need you on the ground, flatfoot, because they're going to put them down with the tech that I'm talking about. You understand? I'm the only one talking about it. And I don't care. Just don't use it on me. Because look, you have to speculate about what's going to happen in the future. You have to talk about this stuff. How come nobody else is talking about it? How come nobody else is talking about it? I'll talk about it. I'll talk about whatever I want. It's my show. It's almost over. You know, this is my second coffee. And by the way, I told you I had that Mickey's Big Mouth because I made that coffee too strong. Oh my God. Plus it was my, July 4th beverage. So, what are you going to do? So, I came straight to the belly of the beast. I'm not worried about it. My entire life, I've been nothing but a creative person. I know how the system works. I don't really care. I'm not some like wannabe phony tough guy. Like I said, I've been in the Who's Gal enough times. Those guys are all full of it. They're all telling these bullshit stories and nobody wants to fucking hear it. And by the way, I am YouTube exclusive, okay? And right on YouTube, there's a guy who's got a great video. He's got a smuggled in cell phone, okay? And he's pointing and he goes, you see that CO right there? Corrections officer. He brings in the cell phone. You see the woman sitting next to him? CO. You give her people the money. Your people gives her people the money. You see the guy sitting next to him, the third CO? Corrections officer? He goes, that's the guy who shakes down your cell, steals the phone back, and then they resell it. Right? So you can see this dynamic where the COs and these cops and these dumb flatfoots are actually very criminal-like. And you can see in the Hoosgow, whichever one you're in, doesn't matter. You could see how the inmates are actually start straightening out. Either you're gonna stay in that motherfucker and you're gonna like be a shot caller, or you better straighten your shit out so you can get out. You don't want to riot in the rumpus room, or whatever they call it, in the day room, in the art room, in the, you know, right? You don't want to catch extra cases while you're inside, because it's going to delay you getting out. But take a look at the COs. Look what happens to them. They become more and more corrupt. They become more and more like the inmate. Okay? So, listen, you know, everybody's a sociologist now, and why not? Look at our future. We're being accelerated into this future. And what I'm going to do with my songs that people in my life told me, Gordon, we don't care about you. We don't care about your songs. As a matter of fact, we're going to steal them. We're not only going to steal them, we're going to put it in your face. I name people by name on this show. I dox them. Because I don't care. They can do whatever they want. Why? Because they're going to do it anyway. Okay? And these morons, these on-the-ground morons, they can't help but out themselves. Everything has to, if it's not going to be about race, then it's going to be about male versus female gender. They'll find some way to pit one side against the other. That's why I created the Hemingway Challenge. If men want to fight women, go ahead. It's called the Hemingway Challenge. Go ahead and take it. You got to write an essay. You got to write an academic essay to see who's really, truly smarter. But just like in any boxing ring, you have to, the height has to match. That's why with Elon Musk, the Tusk, and Zucky, there's I think a 4-inch discrepancy in height. So that's quite a bit. So we'll see if these two guys actually fight. You know, if they do, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I seriously doubt it. But again, are we going into this future, this like Running Man future, where you have these big tech guys wanting to throw down an MMA, MMA style? Maybe we do. Maybe we are going into this. And it seems as though we are. I want to wrap it up a little bit. I got these guys with the blowjob machine over here. I don't know if you can hear it or not. I might have to move somebody somewhere else. So listen, guys, I do my show while I'm homeless. That's how I roll. I've been homeless before. I know how the system works. I know how everything works. Why? Because I've been through it. And like I was talking about with Hemingway, okay? Sorry, I'm so close. Work on my posture. The reason why he was suicidal is because he started drinking when he was 11 years old. I sing about self-harm. I have a song about it, right? And this song is going to be very touching and beautiful. It's going to be put into this property, right? And don't forget, Lenny is the reincarnation of Napoleon. So while all this, what do you think Napoleon was doing? Do you think he was really involved in who was banging who and who was doing this and who was doing that? No. Lenny's going to be focused on these songs, and that's all he cares about. I have plenty of trick endings. I have plenty of surprises involved in this, right? They're already thought out. That's why I'm not worried about it. As a writer, I create these stories, and once I get into my situation, I just sit down and it just comes spilling right out. That's why I trained myself. I'll pick up a guitar, and I'll be noodling around, and I'll be working on the same riff over and over and over again. And that's what it takes. You have to sit there for hours and hours and hours. Or you can be a piece of trash from Farmington Hills, Michigan. Take a look at that median income, right? And take a look at the median income that I came up in. You want to talk about privilege? Is this what we're talking about here? Right? Okay. We had to take a little doggy break. Always taking a doggy break here. I love dogs. I I mean, I had 2 cats. I lost them in the divorce, and it was pretty brutal. And I don't really care about the person that I was actually with, because I keep talking about this recurrence. And I'm telling you that 3 times in my life, I was with women that were a little bit too much like my mom. One was Yolanda, and what did she do? She was involved in an Italian mob family, and she sold pills. What did my mother do? She's involved in an Italian mob family, and she sold pills. Okay? The other one was a stripper. Vanessa, she was a stripper. This is all in my book, Two-Legged Animal. Okay? And anyways, Russell Brand just came up. Russell Brand is, I mean, this guy's taking the medical industry to task. And he's allowed to put whatever he wants on his show. And he's growing his numbers. But apparently, I can't say anything about it. So again, I don't really care what you want to do. If you want to eat bugs and do all that, right? I think I called him Klaus Schultz, Klaus Schwab. You want to do what these guys do? But let me tell you something. Let me wrap it up for you. Okay? I talk about Stanley Kubrick. I talk about Dr. Strangelove. Look what's happening now with the recurrence. Take a look what's happening now. You have a Kennedy running for president. You have Russia involved, and you have a bunch of bunker busters that were just dropped off. Now you have missiles, you have Russia, and you have a Kennedy. What is this recurrence? What is going on here? Do you see this? This is like the Cuban Missile Crisis happening all over again. Can you see it, guys? And this is why people like Stanley Kubrick made this film. It's like, oh, well, yeah, we could blow up everything. Yeah, you might as well have a couple of laughs about it. Now, Dimitri, you know, right? And so the prophet of 2039 is going to make a prediction. Wouldn't it be amazing if Putin fell and the great white dope, the white zombie, Biden, stayed in office? Remember, I made the prediction that he might pass away in office. You can take a look. This is the information that's beaming through the Eggieverse, man. They keep showing him being very frail. He's one of the oldest presidents out there. Take a look at Reagan. I think Reagan was younger than him. And they're saying Reagan had dementia and all this kind of stuff. This is a recurrence. Can you see it? I can see it. You got a Kennedy. You have the possibility. And now take a look at Atomic City and Oppenheimer. Beep. What are these 2 films about? Now, these are beautiful art house films. I love them. I love the directors. I talked about them. I love the costumes. I love the production design. Everything about it. But take a look at the message. What's the message? There's going to be a huge explosion somewhere. You have Oppenheimer. You have a Kennedy. And you have Russia. Right? It's this recurrence. And because all this kind of nonsense is out there and bleep blop and blorpa bloppa, because I got these guys sussed, because cancel culture is created, and as a matter of fact, if you're presented, it's what do you call it? I always forget. Right? It's like peer pressure. It's peer pressure. I'm getting ready to go through the system, guys. So I'll always do videos. I'll always do videos. We're gonna make this thing. It's called Linoleum Blown Apart. You'll see it get made. I criticize other films, other directors, because I know that the public is seeking more. We need more. We need this kinetic editing. We need this kinetic energy. We need this layering. We've seen it in great shows before. Oh, what was the other one? I had something else for you. I got this guy over here. Jesus. I know you guys can hear that. I feel bad. I'm very sorry about that. And we're gonna wrap it up. I should just move to another side of the park, really. Is it bad? You guys hear it bad? Yeah, there's nobody there. I don't really care. It doesn't matter if somebody's here or not. I always do my show. I always do my show. You know, this guy's got no business starting over there. He could have started over. Just saying this all. Okay. So, you have this... I don't know how bad it is, guys. I'm very sorry. We're going to wrap it up, though. Just stick with me, please. We got to wrap it up right. Come on, guy. The frickin' bushes already. Here he comes. There he is. Walking around. Boy, he's lucky he doesn't... I don't know what. There he goes. There he comes. Oh, boy. Yeah, boy. There he goes. All right. So you can see the level of intricacy that this series is going to have. You can see it. There is no doubt. Oh, man, I don't think I can get away. I'll have to come over here. Right? This is... See, and I don't think we can escape it by coming over here either. Oh, man. Jesus Christ. You guys can still hear that? Yeah? So annoying, man. So fucking annoying. Ugh. He's like right there. I probably made it worse. I don't know. Whatever. We're going to keep going. Just for a few minutes. I just want to touch on a couple of things here. So you could see that we talk about a myriad of things on the show. We have to involve ourselves in this accelerationism, and we have to be able to talk about it in the public sphere. Okay? And like I said, that's why these people on the left are really smug, because they have the tech. And the people on the right might show up in their pickup trucks with guns, but this tech will crush them. And the last thing you want to do is start separating the country in half again, right? Because they already have this whole notion of the Civil War. Well, what do you think is going to recur? Right? What do you think might recur? So you want to keep talking about this. You want to watch out for this kind of stuff. You want to stop picking out people's differences, because through art, through religion, through philosophy, okay, what we're seeing is the commonality of people, what we have actually in common with each other, right? Anyone can pick out somebody's differences. Of course there's going to be differences. There's going to be differences in everybody. And why all of a sudden is everybody a sociologist? Why are they an anthropologist? Do you participate in not hero worship, but in ancestor worship? Do you participate in ancestor worship? Who does? Who participates in ancestor worship? I don't think anybody does. I think most people who worship, they have a religion to worship. It doesn't include their dad and their grandfather and their father after that and their father after that, or their mother. So why are we worried about what somebody's background is? Why are we worried about that? And again, they're asking me, Gordon, how do you identify? Well, in the 1990s, this place reminds me of the 1990s in New York, because they're getting ready to do a Keith Haring exhibition. And it's cool. I mean, I like it here. Like I said, I lived in New York. I would never call myself a Republican. I've never even voted Republican except for in the 1980s. And again, I'm hard pressed not to even get involved in politics at this point. It's so vitriolic. I don't care. What am I here to do? I'm here as a 57-year-old man, and I'm not here to live on the goddamn streets. Because I know I'm harder, smarter, better, faster than a lot of people. And I don't appreciate being taken advantage of, especially in Detroit. Because that's all they do. And they knew it. And they couldn't handle the fact that I left. I got up and I left. And at one point, they turned on their TV. And they saw me on that motherfucker. I don't know. Like I said, I worked on so many jobs, I didn't really even care. I don't know what the scuttlebutt is. But I'm taking all this experience that I have, and I'm putting it into Linoleum Blown Apart. Linoleum Blown Apart is one of the best ideas ever. You have the kids, and I said before, all you have to do is have the production design. You never have to say anything. You don't have to say what fascist country he's coming from. You don't have to give the era. None of that has to be even involved in this. Sorry, I'm moving around a bit. Okay? None of that has to be involved in this. You're showing it. It's mise-en-scène. You're showing it in the scene. Right? And who else are these kids going to worship? They can't worship guys in another band because that's not part of the punk rock ethos. They have to worship somebody outside themselves, the way I did. Somebody who's completely different. A filmmaker, right? Because that's a whole different area that they never really explored, and they can sit around and smoke weed and watch a movie. Who doesn't want to do that? So what I'm doing is I'm developing this. You're helping me develop this. I ask you for a lot of things. I put a lot of things out there, but it's not going to deter me or stop me from doing my show. I don't care. If you don't watch my show, you know, what do I care? I don't care about these people in my life stealing my riffs and then laughing about it and being all smug, because that's all they have. And I don't care about money. You can see that clearly. I could care less. That's not what it's about. Once you reach a certain point, it's about your life's work. It's about having purpose. Right? It's about purpose as an individual. And I'm the biggest individual here. I got no friends and no family. Thank you very much for watching my show. I appreciate it more than you'll ever know.